This is Leo Gilling, coming to you again from my home. And I'm not so sure what number video I'm on, but it's somewhere in the teens. I'm going to spend this time here talking a little bit about the things that I remember that had, an effect and still has an effect on me over my lifetime. The things that stay with me, that I can descriptively tell you every detail of it, because since I met that situation, it still remains very clear in my mind. So I remember Aunt Dar's pond. Wasn't Aunt Dar's pond as it was, but whenever it rained, that spot in the yard filled up, and it's hardly ever used. So it remained moist, except in the summer when there's no rain and all of that water is dried up. But I remember how there is always a lot of noise whenever the water settles over there. After a day or two, a lot of noise, squeeze, and then when you go over there after a few days after the water has settled, then you see some little black things swimming around, and then some other long black stringy stuff, and it's what we call toads. So frogs were breeding in there, in that pond, and so the frogs and the crickets and all the other animals in that, or insects in that pond, would make noise at night. I mean, serious noise, and it sounded like pressure in a pipe, really loud noise, and it's and I remember that very clearly. Nobody walked in that water because it's always assumed that there are a lot of frogs in there. And someone told me that that's remnants of a pond that was filled. That was a big pond in Cano Pond, which is why they call it Cano Pond. So that was a part of it. That was probably the last of the pond back in the days. So I remember that very clearly, that we used to have a lot of frogs breeding in that. So we call those little black things that's swimming around. I think they turned into little frogs, later on. And then I remember the first time that when I walked into we call it a lavatory at the time, lavatory at school. And that was I don't know that I've ever walked in there again, because when I walked in that lavatory back at primary school, way back in the early days, and I saw what I saw, those days they had those pull string, thing. The water is at the top in a big square rectangular metal pan, and you pull the string for it to flush. I would never go back in there, and I'm always afraid of going into bathrooms that I am uncertain of from the outside. So if I feel uncomfortable about a bathroom from the outside, then I don't want to go in there. Right? I don't want to go in there because I don't want to have that experience again. Right? And so today, I have a phobia against bathroom that is not looking right from the outside. Right? Because it was really a bad experience. Trust me, okay? You don't want to hear it. The other thing that I remember clearly was ringworm. Most of us kids had ringworm, and you get ringworm because, based on my knowledge, me no know for sure. You play in dirty water, and then there's some bumps, some cluster of bumps that you get, and they itch like hell on your skin. So I remember kids having, I don't remember having it, but I remember a lot of kids used to have these cluster of bumps on their feet and their hands and so forth, and it's regularly called ringworm. So if you know what ringworm is, after you watch this video, you can pretty much tell me what it is. But I know that it had something to do with, playing in dirty water. I also remember, the coconut brush. I always like to talk about this thing is in my face. I like to wear my hat, but it's in my face. Coconut brush, right? So the coconut brush is an offshoot of an entire coconut. Before they ox out the coconut, ox, me I call it ox. Ox. How the hell? What is ox anyway? Husk. Somebody help me here, but me don't know what is ox. When you say ox, what it mean? What it mean? What's the original term for, or English term for the word ox? But before you break the coconut apart in its, you cut off the end of it, and it becomes a nice brush. So you use Rexo polish or Genie polish, and you shine the floor. My sisters, them used to have, me never shine floor yet, but me used to see my sister them. But let me tell you something. When your sister shine floor on a Saturday morning, please, don't walk past her, okay, because she's on her knees, okay? Do not walk past her because she is judged according to whether there's a spot on the floor that she shines. Okay, she can get beaten for having a spot left there. So don't you ever pass them. Until everything is done and everything is put back into place, don't pass your sister, because you can get into a fight. So the Rexo brush, I remember shining floor, but I never went down on my knees. I used the pad of my foot, and push the brush. Sometimes it broke, I'm going to get beaten for that. But yeah, don't you ever dare pass your sisters when they're cleaning up the house, or especially shining the floor with that coconut brush. Don't you dare. So I remember that clearly, that, coconut brush, coconut is one really great thing. Up to today, coconut feeds people. It's a miracle, it's a miracle nut. Because almost everything you do about food or activities, coconut has something to do with it. I remember coconut bats we used to cut the limb of the coconut tree, right? And at the end of it, that it hooks on to the tree like that. We cut that part off and cut the handle and thing, and we have a bat. We have a bat, and we use the bat for cricket. All right, so that was coconut. We also use that same part when we'd go on top of a hill. We cut it so that we can sit on it, and we'd use it as a vehicle rolling down the hill on that coconut thing. So coconut, the whole coconut tree is good for Jamaicans, because the milk of the coconut juice, after you ox the coconut, you break the shell, you cut it out and grate food, soup, rice and peas, you name it, ital stew, everything. All right. So coconut is a miracle fruit for Jamaicans, whether you want to believe it or not. So the brush itself is something that was used regularly in our community, and I'm sure right across Jamaica, everybody can attest to the fact that the best brush that shines the best floor. You can see your face. Your mother used to say, "Make sure somebody see my face in the floor, or else in a shine." All right. All right. I also remember Tyrax, right? Tyrax was a medicine. No. Tyrax was something that your parents give to you when they think that they have too much worm inside of you, right? So when you get Tyrax, a couple of things happen, right? You either excrete little hookworms or you excrete long tapeworms. And so on a Sunday they give you the Tyrax early in the morning, on the Sunday morning. And I remember this kid, his name is Tony, it's Molly's brother. And I saw him some 4 or 5 years ago, and you don't remember this, but I remember very, very clearly how he got Tyrax. And they had the chimney, right? And we talk about the chimney too. They had the chimney and they put him on the chimney, right, to excrete the worms after he got the Tyrax. Well, these were some really big worms that was coming out of him. Is that possible? I mean, I keep wondering if I dream it up. But I know I didn't dream it up. These worms were long coming out of him. And I remember how he released the worms inside the chimney, and you could see them, But then one of them stood inside of his butt, right? And was doing this. Oh my God. Tony was, listen, no Don Quarry couldn't get Tony to get that worm out of him. That worm was all over his butt. That big long worm. So people, if you're following this, please respond to this and tell me if you have had experiences with these long worms, tapeworms, and the hookworms, hookworms. And, how did mom know that we have these things inside of us? Oh my God. Tapeworms. I also remember that they gave us herbs before, and we talked about that, right? Before we go to school, before we return to school, they give us herbs to release our intestines from all of the stuff that's there. And let me tell you something. Most of us don't mind the release of the intestine. What they mind was drinking the herbs. That's a very, very dirty smelling thing. Dirty smelling thing. Drinking it. It was horrible to drink. And it almost immediately caused you to release, right? And they also had something called Brooklax. I never took Brooklax, but I took the Tyrax, and I also took the herbs. But I knew that a lot of people took Brooklax. I don't even know what Brooklax, but somebody says it looks like chocolate or something like that. But I don't know what Brooklax is. But I know that it was one of those things that we use. So the other thing that I remember and I recall very, 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 very clearly was that there's a family across the street from us that I don't know. The wife, they had like 9 kids, There's like a whole litter. And they're all, just a little bit above each other growing up. And I always said to myself, boy, them poor, man. And people look at them as poor, but we just as poor. I always say, oh my God, them poor. And I said to myself, but now I'm looking back and I said, we weren't any better, but that's, what happens there? Your parents protected you. My mother protected us so much that we didn't have to feel poor, even though we lived in the worst conditions. Our mother protected us and we did not feel like we were poor. And so it was easy to look at somebody else's family and say, oh my God, them poor, man. And how kids at that age, you just talk the way it is. You don't have any filter in your words and everything. You just say it like it is. Kids say the darndest thing, right? And so, I also remember the first time I was probably about 11 that I jumped off of one of the wharves. There are two wharves down there. They're United and Standard, and I remember jumping off. All of the boys, left school in the afternoon and went down and then breathed and jump off at the top of the United wharf, and I only did it one time. And I think I developed a back problem since then because when I landed square on the water like that. I didn't tell anybody, but I had pains after that because I didn't, okay, see, here's what happened. When you run off, you're supposed to flip 3 times or 2 times before you hit the water. Well, I flipped. I was fat. So I flipped. And when I flipped, I didn't flip fully to get back down there and dig my head down in the water. I flipped and my back, pow, on the water. I never felt so much pain in my life. Okay, so I remember that being a very significant time because I just felt like the back problem that I think I have was a part of that whole situation, I also remember going to, Orocobesa country, right? Everybody understand. Accept that. Orocobesa upon the ocean front, and we get first look at anything we pass from Portland going to Ocho Rios or Montego Bay or vice versa. We get first look. Okay, we used to go out on a Sunday and look at all the Kingston car, them pass a race, them race, Mini and all these Fiats and stuff passing through. We are town. And we had the ocean in front of us and we had the ships that come in. We are town. Anyway, when I remember the first time I went to my mother's country, way up in one place in St. Catherine called Mount Industry. And data country. And we took a bus. My word, I never seen so much precipice in my life. Data country. Bus I run over. The road was so bad. The bus was shaking like this, up and down, back and forth. And when we went there, my grandmother had like one extra bedroom. She had her bedroom, the queen's bedroom, and that's what she called her bedroom. No little boys can or girls can go in there. And then she had one other, and sometimes 12, 15 of us cousins and stuff on that. But reason it was country, chocolate, banana, sugar cane, anything you want, you just roll down. The number 11 tree, black mango tree, everything that you want was on that property. Everything. And when we would start to come back home, we have crocus bag of food coming. So that's a real country. Rocobesa was no country. So I remember my first time going into Mount Industry, and there was a lady right next door to us, right? and if most of us go to the store these days and we buy a container of cooking oil that we use, and it's vegetable oil and it's all different kind of corn oil, all of these things. The only kind of oil that we had in those days to use was coconut oil. And it so happens that these days coconut oil is the most expensive thing. Once upon a time, everybody moved away from coconut oil, say to fatty and them stuff there. But coconut oil was the only oil that we had. And so there was a lady next door named Miss Keys. Mother Keys. Miss Keys. Miss Keys actually made coconut oil from scratch. Right? And so what we used to do, she used to, if you're there early in the morning, close to her, she would scrape out the custard that's left after the cooking oil, and she puts some in her hand and stuff and eat. But when your mom would send you out, I remember this clearly, you either buy Big Jill oil, Big Jill, or one Jill, or what else? Pint or quart. Never have the money to buy pint and quart oil. We just buy Jill. And she had a little can, a little can with a handle, several cans. And Barbara, you can help me here because you grew up there. So there are several cans with different sizes. And she would dip the can and then take the can and pour it in the bottle that you bring to buy. Okay? And most times we buy oil just for that one cook. So if it's in the morning or in the evening, you buy enough oil just for that cook. Because you don't have the money for buying it anymore anyway. Right? So we used to take our own bottle or our own can, walk across the fence and go over to Miss Lou and buy Big Jill, either one Jill or Big Jill or half a Jill. I don't remember the measurement, but it had something to do with Jill. So, Jill must be something English. But Miss Lou made her life from selling Jills of oil. Babs, you know the thing, so help me out here. If you see this, if you watch this video, you're supposed to know what it is. I remember the first time I rode a donkey, right? I remember the first time I rode a donkey and the man put me upon the donkey. Never rode a donkey before, never rode another donkey after that. The man put me upon the donkey and the donkey just galloped away with me. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. The donkey went out of control. Nobody ever heard the story yet. Because I'm afraid to talk about it. Every time I think about it, I think I'm dead. The donkey galloped away with me and the back foot going up in the air and I hung on upon the neck of the donkey and saving grace, the donkey just went up a hill and when it was going down the hill, it just stopped. Pow! Mr. Put a donkey. Pow! And when he stopped, I fell off. My feet went on the ground and then I hung on to his neck. So we were facing each other, and that saved me. It might be the fact that he was going down a hill and he wanted to throw me or he got scared of something and whatever. But he just stopped. Pow! On the dime. That was serious because I could have been killed. If I weren't hanging on that well, I would have been thrown and gone. Something would have been wrong with me. So that was a scary moment for me. And the last thing I want to share with you was something that's sad. Because before that, in about 1967, I had seen one person who died. But then when I was about 13, I saw another person die. So I was, I was through a little area going up to my house and I heard someone screamed out. And so I turned back because it sounded horrible. It was a bad scream. So I turned back to come out to see what the scream was about, And when I got there was a man leaving the scene and he walked away and he ran. And then there's this other man on the ground. When I got up to him, he was frothing, he was shaking, convulsing, and his eyes were going like that. And I stood there and watched him for a minute. I didn't know what to do until I saw a couple of guys come up and held him and thing. And it was through Fate Lane. His name was Barbara Stedman. And I almost saw it happen. And I got there. I was the first one to get there. And then I saw other guys popped in after, and I remember there's a guy by the name of Bulby. He was driving a little pickup for an electronic store, and someone stopped him, and the gentleman wasn't fully dead, but he was pretty much dead. And they brought up the pickup, backed it up into that place, and they put him in the back of the pickup. And by the time they drove away, he was gone. His name is Barbara Stedman. I remember him very clearly. That's the same man who gave me the candy, the Paradise Plum, and say, Leo, give me back some. And I tell him, no, I'm not giving him. And he say, what a blasted greedy boy. Pom, your boy is so greedy. That's my mom. He was calling out to what. I watched him die. Pretty much, he wasn't totally dead but you know, the end was there. And so you know, those are some things that stay with me throughout my life. And just wanted to share those with you. I don't know if they impact. I know one of them really impact me. That's the one with the toilet. That really still does up to today, because I don't go into any bathroom unless I can see from outside that it's clear to get in. Because if it's clear on the outside and it knocks me when I get inside, oh my God, I'm gonna flip. But so most of the time I judge from outside what your bathroom looks like before I get inside. And so that those are things that really stood out to me. And, one other thing that stood out to me, my mom, I don't remember a time when my mom was not fully Christian-like. I told you in one of the thing that my cognition of myself was I woke up on her shoulder or shoulder, and so she has always been a prominent member in her church, and she is the prayer warrior. My mom loves church and love God and just believe that her whole existence was about serving God. And so that, and we used to play, my dad was also a music guy. And so on Sunday mornings, music is always playing in my house and so forth. There's always Jim Reeves and Skeeter Davis and so forth. And then my dad also had like Brooke Benton and Percy Sledge and so forth. And they generally play in my household. And a few years ago, when my mom was alive, I brought her in. I was playing music, and I started playing some music that I knew that were playing in my house. And I say, Mama, these were your songs that were playing. She said, no, son, I don't remember them that song there. I had to play some gospel and say, yes, I might type that. Yeah, but she don't remember Percy Sledge, and I was so disappointed because Papa loved him Percy Sledge and he loved him. What's his name again? The one who died, sexual healing guy, Marvin Gaye. He loved, Brooke Benton. These were songs that were playing in my household, but Mom obviously never take note of them at all. But I always remember that she's ultra religious into God, into her belief in God and belief in humanity, and always thrive helping others to to believe also. I guess I wanted to share some of those instances that have impacted my life in ways unknown. Those are those things stay with me, and they kind of revive me and re-energize me every time I think about them. This is Leo Gilling, and you can find all of these videos on YouTube. If you just go in and look for Leo Gilling, Leo, Leogilling, just go to YouTube and you'll see them, or otherwise they're on Facebook and Instagram and so forth. All right, it's nice to be here reminiscing and talking about these situations.